Hi, I'm Robin Gully.
I'm John Justin.
We are your Ward 2 Council reps here to bring the West St. Paul City Council recap for the 15th of October 2024. So we started the day with open council work session, and we actually, some of the more interesting things that we did tonight were an open council work session. We started with a presentation and some new information on bus rapid transit. So here in West St. Paul, we can look forward to bus rapid transit coming in 2028, I believe.
Yep.
We are going to be part of the G line, which is going to run from Little Canada down to the south part of West St. Paul.
Yep, through downtown.
Through downtown. It'll replace parts of the 62 and the 68, and the difference between regular buses and bus rapid transit, for people who haven't used them before, is that bus rapid transit only stops about once every, what did she say, once every 8 blocks, maybe?
It's 1 to 2 stops per mile, I think maybe was what it was. So it's spaced out considerably
more. So
more.
they're spaced out considerably. They tend to come about every 10 minutes all day long. So unlike the regular bus lines that can sometimes be 15 or 20 minutes apart, bus rapid transit lines run really consistently. They have nicer stops. They have like the platform that has the information about when you can expect the next bus to come.
And not just like a little paper thing, if people are familiar with that, but an actual updated thing where it'll change the times to fit what's really happening, which is somebody who rode the bus for many years is a really nice idea compared to what it can be like.
Is this bus coming?
Yes. Will this bus ever come?
So we're really excited for it. I think it's going to be a great opportunity for us to have better public transportation in our city. Personally, it goes right by my office, which I think is awesome, and so I'm looking forward to having bus rapid transit right here in West St. Paul.
Yeah, and one thing that we did come up, and I think we'll follow up on this, is obviously what we don't want is we don't want to diminish the current ability for people to ride. And so I actually brought up the fact that because they're spaced out more, people with mobility issues or other things going on may not be able to walk an extra 8 to 10 blocks to get to a stop. So I want to make sure that we're not losing service for people. We're gaining service in one way, but if we're taking it away from other people, then that's a bad thing. So we'll keep our eye on that. I think that, obviously the Met Council will be dealing with it, transit in general, but
actually that's a really good, it's a really good opportunity to mention that right now we're in the public comment period for the G line. So if you are interested in giving feedback on our bus rapid transit line that's going to be coming here to West St. Paul, you have until, I think, October 24th.
Yes, I think it was like 10 more days. And I've got actually that. There's a survey at www.metrotransit.org/G-line-project. There's also an email, which is gline@metrotransit.org. And then actually, if you go into the Open Council work session, there's actually a little QR code that you can scan in there that'll take you right to that. And you might have to tick in a couple boxes to get to the survey, but that'll be to kind of talk and really show the layout of each of the proposed stations and the platforms at each station and stuff like that. So if you're curious, take a look at that.
And if you have feedback.
That would be great.
Now would be a good time to get it in. The next thing, John's like hoping that I bring this. I talk about this because
it's shopping cart management. We've had concerns that, shopping carts do get left outside of where they're supposed to. There's some larger retailers that end up with shopping carts over at bus stops, at apartment buildings, at various other places. I think we had a really good discussion because it's easy to be like, oh, we want to fix this, but you have to think about, number one, who do you penalize? You don't want, technically somebody is stealing a shopping cart from a business. Do you penalize the business for that? Probably not, but at the same time,
don't have any appetite for penalizing people who are
right. We're not going to start citing people that take shopping carts off, because the reason that people take shopping carts to bus stops and take it to their apartment buildings is because they have no other means to get large items, a lot of items home. And so it's kind of a tricky thing. I mean, obviously abandoned shopping carts are nothing that anybody likes. Councilperson Ang Sarn made sure to specifically mention this is not a West St. Paul problem. This is a universal problem. Lots of cities apparently have been looking at this recently. I don't know that we really know what direction we're going to go. Staff's going to come back with some options. I think that everybody on the council pretty much agreed that we don't want to make it, obviously don't want to make it something that the city has to shoulder all on its own, because that's not fair to us, but also that we want to be very careful about what we do design to make sure that we're not, punishing victims of a crime, punishing people that have, different needs and how they need to use these shopping carts. And hopefully we can come up with a solution that's pretty cost neutral, but also improves things. And we're working on it. It's not easy. I don't think there's a magic answer. If there was a magic answer, it probably would have happened the last 40 times. This has probably been discussed in the last 20 years.
Yeah, it comes up every couple of years at least.
Yeah, so we'll see where that goes. And I'm sure we'll see that come back in front of us with some ideas. And then, we'll decide what's fair, what's not, and whether it rises to the level where we need to make a huge move, or if we can maybe just kind of make some incremental moves that improve the situation but don't cause problems for anybody, if at all possible. So
2 things that I just can add to that. One, we have 2 volunteers who have been going out and collecting shopping carts a couple of times
which
a
is
week.
Amazing.
So thank you.
Yes, whoever you are. I don't know that I know who you are, but thank you, whoever that is.
Thank you to the folks who are doing that.
Yeah.
The other thing is, and this is actually going to take us right into the next item, which is talking about rental communities, because one of the things that we heard from our police chief is that a lot of the shopping carts end up at apartment buildings.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that we're interested in, if you see this and you want to reach out, is sort of like how, what needs there are for folks who are taking shopping carts to their apartment, to their houses, to the bus stop, whatever. Yep. So if you're watching this and you are a person who has taken a shopping cart from, and you have any other ideas about how we can support.
Yeah, we're not going to yell at you. You're not going to get a negative response. I'll tell you that right out of the gate. No, I don't think anybody is stealing shopping carts for the pure thrill of having a shopping cart that isn't theirs. I think that it's all pretty situational. And so, if you have ideas, or if you can kind of share any of those, what maybe could work, that would be great. You know more than we do about this if you're ending up with a shopping cart that you need to take away from Target or Walmart. So if you've got ideas on that, or if any businesses are watching this that might deal with this, I'd also love to hear from you about what you think is fair. And hopefully we can come to something that's helps out and doesn't make anybody bear an undue burden, if you will. So. Yeah.
So then actually we talked about rental community engagement, and we have a new vista in our city, Savannah, who is working with our rental communities here in West St. Paul. And so I just wanted to mention that Savannah is doing great work. She's with the Healthy Housing Program. She has a lot of experience working on housing stabilization and helping people find housing. And what she's doing right now is just going around to buildings and trying to get to know all of the apartment buildings in West St. Paul and talking to residents. So if you see her around, talk to her. She will probably ask you some questions about your experience. Nothing too deep, but she's trying to really get to know renters here in West St. Paul, with the idea of working to make the experience of being a renter here in West St. Paul better.
Yeah, and there were some kind of interesting data points we got from that. We did see kind of an eviction thing for the last 9 months.
Yeah.
And it didn't seem to fall into the category of out of line with what one would expect. I mean, obviously evictions are never a good thing for anybody involved. And she did say that she'd looked at the evictions that she could, get access to, and none of them seemed to be retaliatory, which is a huge concern. She did mention that there were possibly some cases where it might be that a non-renewal of rent might seem like it could have been retaliatory, and so we did direct her and staff to look into that. We don't want to see that either. It's obviously non-renewal is a little trickier to figure out what the motivation behind it is, but if we see a pattern of somebody who's not renewing because of people talking about issues they have with the building, we want to do whatever we can to stop that. So there will be some discussion, I think, coming forward about that. And she's in the early stages of this, and once I get the feeling that once she hits the ground running, this is going to be a lot more information than we've had in a long time, which is great.
Yeah. So talk to Savannah if you see her out there, or if there's anything that you want to tell us about your experience being a renter here in West St. Paul, if you've ever experienced retaliation or anything else, reach out. We want to talk to you. Then we got into the regular council agenda, and I will say it was, a little more technical, council-ish stuff than the open council.
Probably not a thrill a minute if you watched it from home, but here we are.
But we'll go over the headlines anyway. So we did have our meeting is normally on Mondays. It was today because we had Indigenous Peoples Day. So I just want to say happy Indigenous Peoples Day to everyone. And then we had a proclamation, or sorry, not a proclamation. Yes, a proclamation.
One quick thing. Jim Probst, the president of the South Robert Street Business Association, came in, kind of talked to us about some stuff that they're working on. One of the big things is Winter Fun Fest is, according to the whims of snow, happening on February 15th. If you have not been to one of those, we didn't have one last year, and then there, of course, were some hiccup years there. It's super fun. It is really, really an excellent event, and I look forward to doing that again. So that was cool.
Mark your calendars. February 15th at Dodge Nature Center.
Yes.
Yep.
And then some more things that had more to do with the council kind of chipping in. We are going to try to do a competition, a friendly competition with our neighbors, South St. Paul, who I will not make fun of in this video because even though it's fun to do, I won't do it today.
Maybe next time.
I'll sneak it in.
So then we got into proclamations, and we had, first of all, it was hand washing day. So the Optimist Club came to City Council to talk about the importance of hand washing, and our mayor got to wash his hands
for 20 countdown seconds.
Chamber.
Yep. Yeah, they brought a little portable running water thing, which I never could actually see from where I was. I was fascinated by that.
Yeah.
Like a fondue pot or something. I don't know what he had over there. But yeah, so the Optimists, that's one of their things for this year and probably for continuing years. And just the short version of it is wash your hands for 20 seconds. It's longer than you think it is. Mental count, I was like, wow, that's a lot of hand washing there. And it does actually, I mean, obviously we're in cold flu and other nightmare season coming in. It actually does help a considerable amount, so.
So wash your hands, stay safe.
Yeah, get your kids to wash your hands. And if you figure out how to do that, tell me because I can't get mine too, but I'm trying.
And then we had the 2024 Outstanding Properties recognitions, which is just so fun because, I don't know, it's just great to have the chance to recognize people who've put a lot of work into making our city look great. So the winners this year were 1079 Oakdale, 1291 Charlton, 225 Thompson, and 1883 Chardell Court. And we have like pictures and things of the properties and the way that they've changed in the packet. So if you're interested, go ahead and take a look. But also if you're a person who's doing a lot of work to your property, if you're a gardener, or if you're like doing a lot of updates, or if you see that your neighbor is, think about nominating them for the Outstanding Property Award.
They get an award. They get a gift card to Southview Garden Center. It's a pretty good deal. And every time we do that and we have people up in front of us, you can tell that it's something where it's nice to get acknowledged for that sort of stuff. I mean, you hope that your neighbors smile at you and wave and whatever, but to actually be able to tell people like, hey, we see what you're doing, and not the whole community gets to see what they're doing. I think it's great, and it really kind of inspires that sort of stuff. And
absolutely.
And that isn't boxed into you have to have a purely manicured lawn. Feel free to do native plantings, pollinators, all of that stuff. It all counts.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
And then finally we got into a few public hearings, but I think we can just summarize them and say that they were really about the Annapolis Street reconstruction.
Yes.
And about assessments for that. Nobody likes assessments, so apologies in advance. But also we really like having good roads to drive on.
And they came in higher than the estimates. Anybody who's dealt with anything in the world of construction is probably not going to be surprised by that, given when the estimates happened and then the intervening years where construction costs went way up. And so, yes, I mean, it wasn't, it's higher than we thought it was going to be. We never like to do that, but as Cody said, an estimate's an estimate. There's not much you can do to control it. And there were just some sort of overrun costs. It wasn't anything that got added to the project. And now that it's getting done, I think everybody's going to be really happy with it. And move those forward. There was a discussion about deferred assessments, which is probably a little more narrow and in the weeds than most of you probably need to know about. The short end of it is we continued that discussion in the next meeting for staff to take a look at some options. And it's just some very specific kind of odd properties where this would even happen. Like I said, I don't think it's necessary. If you're curious about it, call me up. I can walk you through it, but it probably would not affect 99% of the people in the city on any assessment sort of thing. So, but when it comes up, we do talk to people and let people have their moment and see if we can work with them. If we can negotiate something that everybody's happy with, that's what we want.
Finally, we had a public hearing about, the title of it is Incompatible Offices, but it really has to do with what we talked about last month, right here with you, about whether folks who've been elected to public office in West St. Paul are allowed to serve as election judges.
And get paid for it.
And get paid for
they
it.
They can serve as election
judges right now.
But currently they're the only people that do not get paid to do it. And that was a charter suggestion. It came from the charter to us. Now the weird thing about that, which always confuses people a little bit, is it has to be a unanimous yes. And the mayor does vote on that. And in this case, it was a 6-1 vote. So that means that it did not pass. You can't gloss over that one vote. So that'll go back to charter if they feel strongly enough about it, because they have kind of this quasi-independent sort of way of doing things, which is good to not have the city council have the absolute say on the charter, because that could get bad. They do have the option to move forward with, I think, putting it on as a referendum if they really feel strongly about it, and then it would hit the ballot. And we'll see if they do that. That is up to the Charter Commission, and it's their prerogative, whatever they want to do.
Yeah, definitely. And then finally, we had an Economic Development Authority meeting, and most of it was a closed session. So we can't tell you about the closed session, but it did end with...
Yeah, we ended up with us having staff moving towards purchasing a property with some ideas of different things that we can do with it. Obviously, we're in the early stages of that, but I think there's some pretty interesting ideas there. And so it looks like, we're moving forward with that. I mean, and so you'll hear more about that as time goes on. Obviously, we have to complete the purchase and all of that stuff, but once that goes through, then there'll be a lot more information available. And really in the closed session, it was not a lot of information that wouldn't, but you can't, you don't want to do these things in public, just like if you were negotiating something that you were trying to buy, you would not want the seller to be sitting there in the room with you. So, and that is it, I think. I don't think we missed anything. Again, administrative citations and some unpaid invoices, we passed those through. It's stuff that, people have to pay. And so they're going to pay it. And then there we are. So again, not a lot of meat in that portion of the meeting, but it did take a long time because it was a lot of work.
So you can see all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to watch 3 hours of this instead of 18 minutes, you are welcome to do so.
Otherwise, until next time.
Yeah, we'll see you later.
See you later. Thanks. Everyone.
Bye.